Hey everybody, it's John Michael Bailey, Injury Lawyers. And again, we are blessed and pleased to have our CLO, Chief Legal Officer, and recognized workers' comp expert, Mr. Mark Lambert, here with us today. And we're going to talk about workers' comp things that you need to know and things that you need to be aware of so that you can protect yourself in today's world. So there's a lot of talk nowadays. I see it all over TikTok. I see it all over the news, all over social media, where these big companies now are laying people off right and left. So let's work that into the workers' comp scenario. Let me ask you, let's say that I am a worker, let's say for Amazon or Google or XAI, one of these places, and I have an injury. And as a result of that injury, they do what is called leaving medicals open. So you'll need to explain what that is. But then let's say I get laid off, or I'm no longer working there, and I've got medicals open. If it was the job's responsibility to take care of me, but now I'm not with that company, what can I do? What do I do?
Well, that's a great question, John. And as we talked about the last time we were together, let's recap just a little bit. There's basically three types of workers' compensation benefits. We can put what you're entitled to under the workers' comp system into three basic buckets. Temporary benefits are, of course, what you're entitled to when the doctor's taking you off work, you're not able to work, or if you go back to work in a limited capacity. Those obviously end at some point. The same thing goes with permanent disability benefits. Those are benefits that you're entitled to if your injury has led to some kind of condition that can't be cured. It's permanent in nature. You've heard the terms tossed around: permanent disability, impairment rating. Those types of things all have to do with that permanent disability bucket. Those also obviously come to an end. But then the third type of benefit are open medical benefits, healthcare benefits. Those are benefits that many people arrange to be open for the rest of their lives.
And that's what we're talking about here.
That's what we're talking about here. So often when you resolve your workers' comp case, and of course the adjuster is going to tell you, well, the case is now closed, or I'm closing my file. They'll use some term like that. What they want you to hear is, don't call me back again, because that's all there is to your workers' comp case. But that's not what the law says. The law says that if you're still employed at that employer, or under some other circumstances, your medical benefits are often open for the rest of your life. And those open medical benefits follow you no matter where you're working or where you're living.
But what you're telling me and what you're sharing with everybody else is, don't expect that insurance adjuster to pick up the phone and tell you you still have these benefits and they follow you no matter where you go. That's when you need to call somebody like Mr. Lambert, who understands all of these nuances and the ins and outs. So, recognized expert and authority, tell us what we need to know.
If that workers' comp adjuster ever called an employee to tell them that they have benefits they weren't aware of, that would be a first in my career. That's not going to happen.
Do you really want me to tell people how long you've been doing this?
No. What I have had happen more than once, frankly, probably more than once a month, is someone calls me up and says, I got injured at the job and I was getting medical treatment, but I no longer work there. What can I do now? And the reality is there's a couple of things we can do. The first thing we can do is I can help you get back in touch with the right workers' comp carrier, the right adjuster, and we can get you back into some medical care. But often what's more beneficial is to contact that insurance company and arrange some type of settlement where you get paid to manage your own future medical care. That's really what most people want, because that gets you out from underneath the workers' comp umbrella.
Let's put a pin in that. So what you're saying is that I can get you the medical care that you're entitled to, but you still have to do this and go through all the rigmarole that we both know goes into any type of a workers' comp claim. That means you have to go through the adjuster. It has to be approved. The doctor may or may not be somebody that you choose, and then you have to go to that doctor, and your rights, you do have the right to the medical care, but they have the right to pick and control who you see. Or you can fight the insurance company and get them to pay a lump sum so that you then have the ability and authority to control your own future. Is that essentially what you're saying?
With that lump sum, you can go back to your family doctor that you trust when you have a cold or a flu, or you've fallen at home. You can go back to that doctor. You can go to some other doctor, or you can manage your care on your own terms, doing however you want, whatever you want to do with that money, going to Walgreens and picking up medication for yourself. If you don't do that, then you are stuck. And when I say stuck, I mean that in the strongest term. You are stuck with whatever the workers' comp adjuster wants you to do for your health care. There are people listening to this video right now who have had a workers' compensation claim that was settled or closed years ago, maybe decades ago, that have the right to open future medical care right now. With that right to future medical care, we can either get them back into a doctor, or we can arrange some type of settlement where they can get paid to close out their claim for real this time. There's no doubt that there are people listening to this video that have had a workers' comp claim in the past that could call us, and they're entitled to more money.
Okay. All right. And what kind of cases generally have their medicals left open?
All of them. Every single workers' compensation case has your medical care left open if you remain at that employer. Now, if after your injury is resolved, if you couldn't go back to that employer, it remains to be seen if you've given up all your benefits, if you've closed your case entirely. But one good way to find out is to give us a call.
That's
Let
right.
us look into it.
That's 888 We Fight. Open 24/7, 365. We never close. If you're hurting, we're working. Sorry for that. That was a sponsor's word there, but go ahead. Go ahead and finish what you were saying.
The right to future medical care is one of the most valuable rights we have in the workers' comp system. It's the only right that doesn't have a limitation to it. There's no top dollar to it. The workers' comp carrier is supposed to pay for your treatment, whether it's a $10 bottle of aspirin or a $10,000 surgery. Doesn't matter what it's supposed to be. Because that right's so valuable, insurance carriers, workers' compensation carriers, they see value in closing that right. I can tell you there's also a value to you in closing that right. So if you've had a workers' comp case in the past and you're not sure if that case has fully resolved itself, if you've given up all of your future benefits to medical care, let us help you find that out. You might be sitting at home hurting and need to get back to the doctor, or you might have a case that we can get you some money for. And there's no reason that you should let that insurance company hold on to money that the law sees as rightfully yours.
Don't let them cheat you. Now, let me ask one more qualification. Let's say that that the employer knows that if I can't come back to work at the same rate of pay and all that, it's going to cost them a whole lot of money. So what they're going to do is they're going to offer me another position so I would stay with the company, but I don't make the same amount of money. What happens in that situation?
The law is very clear about that. The term is meaningful return to work. And a meaningful return to work means that you've gone back to this employer or another employer making the same or greater rate of pay. Now, there's always arguments that good lawyers and good insurance adjusters make about that meaningful return to work. Whose fault is it you didn't go back? Did you really try? Was there some reason that you couldn't go back that had nothing to do with this workers' compensation injury? The area gets more gray than just a definition. But the reality is we know every trick. We know every excuse that they will use to try to say that the meaningful return to work was not their fault and put the burden on the employee. If you didn't go back to work making the same or greater amount of money as you did before this injury, then as far as I'm concerned, the reason is this injury. And you need to be entitled, and you're entitled to additional compensation for not getting back to work at that same rate of pay.
And this is what Mr. Lambert does every day, all day. Now, where do we go? Where do we as a firm and where do these injured people go for redress for these issues?
There's a couple of different methods that the law allows for. There's an informal mediation type method that we use before there's the court system. But in Tennessee and in Mississippi, there's a dedicated workers' compensation court. Many years ago, we utilized the same court system that was used for everything else, for divorces, for car wrecks, for medical malpractice. But the workers' comp system now has branched off into its own type of court system, and I think that's a good thing because our judges are educated in only workers' compensation. The process sounds like many things, sounds very simple
Until you ask the right questions.
so you ask the right questions. But the first thing we would do is request a mediation through the state and ask a mediator to be assigned. That means that the employer or workers' comp carrier has to hire an attorney. That would be an attorney that hopefully is knowledgeable of the workers' compensation system. When that happens, frankly, a lot of problems that should have been resolved with the workers' compensation carrier and adjuster, those get resolved finally. If it doesn't, that's okay. We move into the court system. We know how to move cases quickly. There are ways to ask for an expedited case to make sure that it doesn't get ground down in the regular workers' compensation court and get you the temporary benefits and health care and the back pay that you're entitled to quickly under the law. There's a lot of methods to do that, but the answer is we go straight into the court of workers' compensation claims and get you the redress that you deserve.
And we're also blessed to have a dedicated person with many, many years of experience who works directly with Mr. Lambert to follow up on cases and stay on top of these workers' comp adjusters. I can tell you from reviewing the files that she stays on top of them, and I have found, and I will tell you that in my opinion, workers' comp adjusters are the most difficult people in the world to work with. I don't know if they go out and find people who are deeply unhappy with their life or what, or maybe it's just that they're so overworked. They're very unresponsive, and you really have to stay on top of them. And we are fortunate to have a lady with multiple years of experience who really just doesn't take no for an answer. So you want to kind of bring that up a little bit?
Many law firms dabble a little bit in workers' compensation, and that's about as useful as going to a doctor that dabbles a little bit in heart surgery. That's not what you want. You want to go to a doctor that knows the heart in and out. Well, we know workers' comp in and out. I have an assistant named Katrina. Katrina has been doing workers' compensation for decades. I won't say how long, or she'll be.
No, we'd be in very much trouble for that.
We'd be in trouble for that. But Katrina knows one thing about the workers' comp system, that the squeaky wheel is the only wheel that gets the oil. Not just the wheel that gets oiled the most, it is the only wheel that gets the oil. So when she doesn't get an answer from an adjuster at 10 o'clock in the morning, she messages them again at 10:30, and then again at 11, and then again at 11:30. And then by noon, she's on the phone with their supervisor. That's the kind of thing that the workers' comp adjuster is really not going to take from an employee. They're going to put that employee on the naughty list, and that employee is not going to get the benefits that they're entitled to. But we know better than that. They know that if they do that to us, they'll find themselves hauled in front of a workers' compensation judge and ask why they weren't participating in good faith. So when you think about what law firm you want to hire, think about whether you want a law firm that dabbles a little bit in workers' compensation, or a law firm that's got a dedicated department and a workers' compensation attorney and a workers' compensation coordinator that manages all their workers' comp claims.
I want to say that in all the years that I've worked with Mr. Lambert, I've never seen an attorney care more about the effects of the injury on his clients, whether or not it's workers' comp or a car wreck or a personal injury claim. We know that it's a tragedy in your life, and it's an interruption to the rhythm that you've established in your life. And that particularly in the case of a workers' comp, when you can't work, you can't put peas and carrots on the table. And we understand that everybody's first focus is taking care of their family. So that's why our first focus is taking care of you. So I'm going to say, not goodbye, because you know we're coming back with more. I'm going to say see you the next time. And I'm John Michael Bailey from John Michael Bailey Injury Lawyers. And this is Mr. Mark Lambert, our Chief Legal Officer and a recognized authority in workers' compensation, saying if you need us, call us. We're here to help. Open 24/7, 365, 888-WE-FIGHT, www.calljmb.com. See you soon. 888-WE-FIGHT.